Rachel Maddow just made herself look like a butt. She claimed to have exclusive access to Trump's 2005 tax records. There was just one problem. There were only 2 pages, and nothing on them was all that interesting. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Gary Varner. This is Renegade Reason, and today, Trump's not-so-exclusive tax returns. So let's get into it.
Is a copy of Donald Trump's tax returns. We have his federal tax return for 1 year for 2005. I believe this is the only set of the president's federal taxes that reporters have ever gotten a hold of. What we have are these 2 pages, front and back, from the same 1040 form that you might have filled out when you file your taxes. And in terms of what's on here, let me give you the basics. Aside from the numbers being large, these pages are straightforward.
Translation? There's nothing here.
He paid $38 million, looks like $38 million in taxes. He took a big write-down of $103 million, more on that later. If you add up the lines for income, he made more than $150 million in that year. Mazel tov.
Translation? You sorry son of a...
But because nobody has had the president's taxes before, we didn't know what to expect. When we showed this 2005 return to the White House to ask them if it's real, we sent this over to the White House tonight, and the White House responded basically with, yep. I'm going to read you the White House statement on this tonight. Quote, before being elected president, Mr. Trump was one of the most successful businessmen in the world, with a responsibility to his company, his family, and his employees to pay no more tax than legally required. That being said, Mr. Trump paid $38 million, even after taking into account large-scale depreciation for construction on an income of more than $150 million, as well as paying tens of millions of dollars in other taxes, such as sales and excise taxes and employment taxes. And this illegally published return proves just that. Despite this substantial income figure and tax paid, it is totally illegal to steal and publish tax returns. The dishonest media can continue to make this part of their agenda, while the president will focus on his.
So the White House was basically like, no, boo, don't. You got our tax returns. That's like illegal and stuff. No. And you know MSNBC was like, ha ha ha, we got him. Screw you. We're going to read him to the world. The White House continued to be like, no, don't. And MSNBC kept laughing until they read it. The bottom line here is that there was nothing on the tax returns of any interest. So the next question became, well, wait a minute. Why did these tax returns get sent to the network if there was nothing on them? But they weren't going to tell you that. No, MSNBC was going to sell this story. Exclusive tax returns. It's so wonderful. We finally got them. Until you actually read them and figure out there's nothing of interest on them. Then it's like, crap, there's nothing here. We need a tax guy. Somebody get a tax guy. And in this case, the tax guy happened to be the same gentleman who got the records in the first place. And of course, once he was on the show, the conspiracy theories began to abound.
Joining us now is David K. Johnston. He's editor and founder of DCReport.org, which has posted this document as of a few minutes ago. He's also the author of The Making of Donald Trump and the Pulitzer Prize-winning financial reporter who found the president's 2005 tax returns in his mailbox. David, thank you for being here.
Delighted.
First of all, congratulations on this scoop. What can you tell us about how you got these pages, how you got this document?
Came in the mail over the transom, and there is absolutely nothing improper about journalists, if you haven't solicited something, getting it over the transom. And by the way, let me point out, it's entirely possible that Donald sent this to me. Donald Trump has, over the years, leaked all sorts of things. The very sleazy girl-on-girl pictures of the First Lady in the New York Post may have come from Donald. The front pages of the state tax returns that we had that were sent to the New York Times and the New York Daily News last fall may have come from Donald. Donald has a long history of leaking material about himself when he thinks it's in his interests.
Now, to be fair, this is not as crazy as it sounds, because after all, Trump care / Ryan care / Republic care / who cares is falling apart. And this is a perfect distraction from that. So this is not out of the realm of possibility. However, I don't think this is going to be the case. And the reason that I think that is because it looks like the Republican strategy is going to be to throw Paul Ryan under the bus for this mess. The reason I believe that is because a couple days ago, Breitbart actually published an audio recording of Paul Ryan saying he would never support Trump. Now, this was recorded back in October, so the fact that it's coming out now is kind of suspicious. So given that this is what's happening right now in the Republican Party, I don't think it's likely for them to both throw Paul Ryan under the bus as well as put out these tax returns. I mean, it's possible, but it's not really likely. For the record, I'm not exactly opposed to Breitbart publishing this when they did, because it looks like it's Paul Ryan's bill anyway. Do not forget that Paul Ryan was Romney's VP, and Romney was the guy that made the model for Obamacare in the first place. So in all likelihood, this is his bill. So yes, blame him. Blame the crap out of him.
Under the regular tax system, remember we have two tax systems. Well-to-do people, you and I, effectively calculate our tax twice, the regular tax system and the alternative minimum tax. If we didn't have the alternative minimum tax, and Donald Trump in writing wants to end the alternative minimum tax, he would have paid taxes at a lower rate than the bottom half of taxpayers, the poor in this country who make less than $33,000. Now think about that, on $153 million almost of income, he would have paid a little over $5 million, less than 3.5%, less than the half of taxpayers who make under $33,000. As it is, because of the alternative minimum tax, he paid $36.5 million, not the 38 the White House statement says. They're counting his self-employment tax, which is payroll taxes. $36.5 million, he paid 24%. You know who pays 24% in this country? Married couples with two incomes like my wife and I who make about $400,000 a year.
Here's the thing. I don't care. Why would I care if Trump makes more money than me? Why would I care? If he made less, would I make more? No. Me and my wife make less than $33,000 a year. Do I blame Trump for that? No. I blame college and my pursuit to be an actor. But what the hell kind of logic is this? What, if Trump was paying more taxes, would I just mysteriously get more money? No, that wouldn't be the case, and nor do I want it to be the case. But here's the thing. The media wants you to believe that if Trump was paying more taxes, you would get some of that money, and you wouldn't. There's only one way for you to get that money, and that is through social programs. But in order for somebody like me to get on social programs, even if I'm making $33,000 a year or under $33,000 a year, I would have to give up one of my jobs, or my wife would have to give up her job, and we would have to get on government programs and hope that we could make more money than we are right now. And then, even if that was the case, even if we got there, we would become poor and we would be the government's bitch. Because now we would have to vote Democrat just to sustain our livelihood. How is that a goal? My entire life would be dependent on the next election. Why would I want that? Oh, and by the way, Bernie Sanders, Mr. Pay Your Fair Share, he only paid 13% taxes. Trump paid 24%. Just throwing that out there. Just throwing it out there. No big deal. Just throwing it out there. The rest of the interview just deteriorated into a bunch of random accusations. And the way they tied it to the taxes was, well, apparently Trump must have been getting money from the Russians somehow, because he's been planning to run for president since 2005, I guess.
I mean, here's a simple question to ask. Every other president's released their returns. We have Hillary Clinton's and Bill Clinton's returns back to the 1970s. Why is it that Donald Trump is so insistent that we're not to see his tax returns? There must be something hiding in his returns. You know, I've been at this for 50 years. I started as a teenager doing investigative reporting. And every time some high-level politician wants to hide something, it always turns out there's a reason. They've got something to hide. I have lots of things we can think of that Donald Trump has to hide, including sources of income and his connections to the Russian oligarchs, who are essentially, Rachel, a state-sponsored network of international criminals. And you got to think about it in that way and understand that's their position in the world. And Donald Trump really is desperate that we don't see where his money comes from.
The rest of it was just a bunch of ad hominem stuff about Trump's past that really had no connection to the taxes at all. It's just, oh, he's a sleazy guy, so he must have some connection to the Russians. It's the only way. But, you know, no proof, of course. Let me try to take a stab at why Trump has been hesitant to release his tax returns. In 2012, Romney made one big mistake, aside from being a miserable, sleazy, middle-of-the-road politician that insulted half his demographic, then wondered why he lost by 3 million votes. But anyway, see, what the left did is they took those tax returns and they honed in on Romney's profits, and they said, oh, he's so rich, he's out of touch, people can't relate to him, and he can't relate to the people, yada, 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 yada. And unfortunately, there are some really stupid people in this country that buy arguments like that, and they just so happen to vote. And so when they saw the specific numbers and they were overwhelmed by the profit range, they didn't focus on anything else. They just looked at the numbers, and that was it. That was all that mattered to them. Trump probably was aware of this and decided not to give these people his tax returns. And it's not because of some nefarious reason. It's because he was denying the media emotional ammo. And look, I don't like Trump. He's not somebody I care to defend or whatever, but he's pretty intuitive on this stuff. And if I were being honest, I wouldn't give the media my tax returns either if I were running for president. In fact, I would give them as little information as possible because these people distort everything. Guys, thank you so much for watching. I always appreciate your time. If you liked this episode, please like, share, and subscribe and all of that. And until we meet again, we'll see you later. Peace.